Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Mario, Mr. October Lopez. Dodgers going to the Fall Classic.
Yeah, all of a sudden you like baseball.
No, not really.
All of a sudden you like baseball. Hey,
not really.
I'm so excited. We're going to have to flurry that and talk about that later. And against the Yankees, you have to take a second mortgage on your home to try to get tickets, but more on that later. Quick shout out to Smoking Tim Frazier and
Tino on the edits, the bout sheet for this show. There's a shocker in Orlando, and in studio, El Presidente of Golden Boy Promotions, Eric Gomez, and we have a quick Ask Mario, but we want to let you know this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino. Beat the congestion and enjoy free parking every day at Hustler Casino. Introducing So Fine Sundays, where every Sunday you can win tons of cash with drawings every 2 hours from 12 noon to 8 p.m. Stop by and see how big you can win at Hustler Casino.
Round 1.
All right, now we get started. Round number 1. As they say, life comes at Zoo Fast. From the Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida, and still the IBF junior middleweight title is held by Bakram Murtalazayev, shocking Tim Tszyu in 3. Mario, I'll be honest with you, I don't think that many people gave Murtalazayev much of a shot. It almost looked like going into the fight, it was an exchange of belts. But as Larry Merchant once taught me, there's a reason why you fight the fights.
I don't think much people knew who Murtalazayev was. And I'm convinced now, if your last name ends in EV or OV, you are not to be messed with. Sort of like if you're out in the street, don't mess with a dude with cauliflower ears.
Yeah.
Same thing, don't mess with a dude with a last name who ends in EV or OV. He announced himself to the world in devastating fashion. That was impressive. And shout out to Tim Tszyu for showing a lot of heart and a lot of courage, getting up, 4 times he got dropped? That was one of those performances where, like, I'm here, I'm a player, I'm ready to wreak havoc. What was so impressive about it is that he instilled his will right from the get. He dropped him in the second round, boom, with that short left hook, and then it's like he never had his legs under him. After that, that was it. Yeah. I actually was questioning the corner when they sent him out there for, was the 4th, 5th round? When did it end? For the 3rd round. Yeah, God, I lost track. The whole thing was so crazy because it's like he just didn't look right after that. And his punches are so fluid. It wasn't like it looks like anything really devastating or he's loading up, but they flow really nice. And he's a long guy. He's almost 6 feet. And they come at you. They're just so compact for a long guy and so fluid. I'm like, oh, this guy is going to be dangerous to tangle with in this division. And we're talking about a guy in Tszyu, and I don't know if he necessarily was overlooking him or looking at the fights past him, because he's a guy that I give a lot of credit to. He didn't have to fight Fundura when he did, but he did. And on the heels of that, came up with a dangerous guy with Murtalazayev. I can't say his damn name. Murtalazayev. Did I say that right? And I was just so thoroughly impressed. And now it's just, what a fun division now. With all these guys. It's a really fun division. He, I think, is the new sort of boogeyman and guy you want to see more. And it is so impressive because Tszyu is a guy who always comes to fight and is very aggressive, but it's controlled aggression. He's never sloppy in there. Even though it looked like his right hand was a little down and susceptible to that left hook. But he did drop him with a straight left. It wasn't a left hook the second time. It was a straight left, too. And then it was a right hand on another time. So the guy can crack Murtalazayev with both hands. And he looked very composed in there, like he was in there doing what he was supposed to do. And that was pretty scary for other fighters in that division.
It was about 53 weeks ago that Tim Tszyu completed a very, very productive 2023 campaign by pounding home a solid decision victory over Brian Mendoza. He's on top of the world. He comes to America again, looking to add to his star quality. And then I'm just telling you, this thing can change so fast. He takes Sebastian Fundura on about 8 days' notice, gets a free cut. That's okay. I don't think his stock dropped.
His stock didn't really drop too much after that because of the cut and all that, and he was still in the mix for big fights.
But this one's different. Mario, he didn't even know what hit him. He literally asked, what did I get hit with? And not only did he stay hurt. He was hurt the whole time. And I talked to a leading trainer yesterday. I had a good conversation with him, and he said, Steve, he fought with a level of arrogance that he acted like, number one, you can't hit me, and if you can, you won't hurt me. Both happened.
Well, that's the thing. He's always fought in a sort of macho way, which makes him fan-friendly and someone you want to see fight. It was my first time seeing Murtalazayev. I hadn't never seen him before, but I was really impressed the way his punches were flowing. Like I said, it looked very effortless in there.
Yeah.
He looked like a savvy veteran, wasn't loading up on his shots. It wasn't like a flurry of combinations. They were just smooth and crisp, and he was on balance.
Well, he
and his
punched
distance
with
were
them.
good.
He punched with them.
Exactly.
And the one thing about Tim Tszyu, though, he's a lot like his father in a sense. He's a little upright, and I don't want to say stiff, but he's upright. I thought he had worked at actually kind of being able to slip, dodge, or at least put your hands up in the right position. And look, I remember when Vince Phillips stunned him over and over again in 1997 with the right hands. This time it was the left hook. It was a blind spot towards it. And I'll be honest, based on the nature of that knockout, I think it's fair to ask, is Tim Tszyu ever going to be the same again?
Wow, it was, and again, because the corner sent him out that last time, that was questionable. Weren't you questioning him like, oh man, that's going to end really bad? I'm glad they finally did throw the towel in, but he needs a long layoff no matter what. Let's take some time, and then he should reassess the situations, because it was one of those fights where those weren't flash knockdowns.
And a lot of credit to Murtalazayev, who looked like a different fighter. That when he beat Jack Kulke back in April in 11 rounds.
Had you seen him before?
Yeah, he's okay. He's a guy. No one look.
That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, a lot of people haven't. So the first time you see him, you're like, damn.
No, when that feeling
that
that
you
got,
hadn't seen him before.
The first time you saw Kovalev, you're like, oh. The first time you see Golovkin, you're like, ooh. First time you see Loma, you're like, oh, I get it. This guy was just he's solid.
No, I understand,
rugged,
but this is my first time seeing him, so I'm
yeah. I mean,
because I hadn't seen him before. That's what I'm saying. He looked special in there that night. If that's the first time, that was a lot of people's first time.
Most of his money the last 3-4 years has been made stepping aside. He was number one in the IBF, and as a sig alert by the name of Jermel Charlo held up the whole division, he kept taking more money not to enforce the mandatory. Now, that's a great living, but the one thing that you're fearful of when you take these step-aside fees, and you can ask Montes Stanionis, you could stagnate.
Right.
You're not promised anything. And look, I'm going to say this again. This is why belts matter. Before he had the belt, Murtalazayev, as the great Bert Sugar would say, he wasn't even a household name in his own household. But now with the belt, that's why Tim Tszyu said that's an easy mark. They were wrong.
Yeah, how'd that
and
work
now
out?
Murtalazayev in a division with Crawford, Madrimov, Fundura, and Virgil Ortiz is right in the mix. And we could talk about that with Eric Gomez. All right, so that's it for round number 1 of the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino. We come back. Joining us live in studio, Eric Gomez of Golden Boy Promotions.
Catch the streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking straddle!
For my fans.
What? I read it twice!
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino. Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and to sponsor our show? We have some spots available. Please email us at info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid is an online platform that helps professional boxers connect with their fans by providing exclusive Fight Week merchandise, memorabilia, and sponsorships. You can even buy a shout-out on Boxbid. Boxbid.io handles our sponsorships, and we are proudly working with Boxbid.io.
All right. Someone in the studio now who's not only a friend, happens to be president of Golden Boy Promotions, Presidente Mr. Eric Gomez. Welcome, man.
And by the way, I'm just glad the Dodgers won, because if there was a Game 7, he wouldn't be here.
I know, he's got his priorities straight. We're both Dodgers fans.
Yes.
Hey, man, good to have you here. It's been a minute. We were just talking about Murtalazayev.
Murtalazayev.
Shit, the name's hard to say. Murtalazayev. I hadn't seen him before, nor did a lot of people. I mean, Kim be watching all this shit, so he be seeing all his fools. But if that's your first impression, like for myself, obviously you're familiar, you've seen him. I'm thinking, damn, where did this guy come from? But I know never to underestimate these Eastern Bloc fighters. Murtalazayev, Boachuk, Madrimov.
Yeah.
They all come prepared. They're all disciplined. They all seem to leave it all in the ring.
They're tough. They're very tough.
They're
these
tough.
guys,
Were you
yeah.
surprised by what you saw this past Saturday?
It was very surprising, but you have to question yourself. Was that the real Tim Tszyu? How much did he have left? How much did Fundora take out of him? Did he try to come back a little too fast?
Did he underestimate him?
Yeah, did he underestimate him? Did he do a little too much in the gym? You never know. Was it really the result of that's how good he is, or Tim Tszyu just didn't have anything in the tank?
Now, Eric, here's the interesting part. You guys nearly got into a fight, your company and one of your clients, with Tim Tszyu in, I believe, early August with Virgil Ortiz. Was that actually a done deal?
Yes, it was. We had accepted. We were in the process of getting the contracts done. I guess his cut didn't heal correctly, so we looked to postpone it, and we were going to try to do it in October, but for whatever reason, Tim Tszyu decided to take on this fight, and he wanted to do this. So.
Wow, that's such a great fight for Virgil too, style wise.
Yes, it was. It was. We were excited. In fact, when we did the fight, the Saudis were telling us that they were getting a lot of attention for that fight, for the LA show. A lot of the fans were asking about the fight. A lot of the media were asking for that fight because it's a can't miss. Virgil's very aggressive. He's a boxer puncher. And then Tim Tszyu's very aggressive as well. So, people were very excited about that fight.
And you ended up fighting Sergey Boachuk. What are your memories of that fight? I think it's the best fight I've seen live in 2024.
Yeah, that might be the fight of the year.
That was great. It's a contender for fight of the year. Boy, was I wrong.
In what way?
I thought
they were
Virgil
familiar with each other, right?
They had sparred a couple of times,
Oh, okay,
and I had seen Boachuk a number of times, and he fought in one of our shows before. I thought Virgil was going to be able to handle him a lot easier, but boy, was I wrong. I mean, Boachuk came to fight, and he fought him tooth and nail, and it was a very, very close fight. He's just very, very good.
Is that a fight that? How did Virgil respond afterwards? As far as how did he feel about his performance in the fight itself?
He felt that he could have done better, but again, the long layoff really did affect him. He fought like 2 rounds in 2 years, something like that.
Right,
because he had 2 first-round knockouts. So it was tough. It was tough to gauge. Mentally, he went back to the time they sparred, and he felt that he was going to be able to handle him. But again, when you have you can never measure a fighter's heart. You just can't. And their desire, and that's we got the best Boachuk we could have had that night.
Eric, when you look back at Virgil Ortiz's path, obviously he had some health issues which sidelined him for over a year plus. And you actually had one fight with Stanionis where I think everyone was at the fight hotel, and it turned out this is not going to work. Everyone got sent home, but the show went on. Internally, what were the discussions in terms of how do you make sure Virgil Ortiz shows up and that he's okay to fight regularly moving forward?
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that health-wise he was okay. I was in constant contact with the doctor that was treating him. And the doctor was actually very informative. He told us that, he's dealt with this illness before. And then he was explaining to me that he treated Tom Brady for the same thing.
Rhabdomyolysis.
Yes, that Tom Brady had something like that, or I'm not sure if it was similar.
And what's the?
And then he started naming a couple of other athletes and this and that. But it's something with the blood or whatever. But it just makes you weak and tired. And
wow,
so
it's just like a freaky thing.
It's a freaky thing, and it happens. And recently we had another fighter that just went through it, and he's in the clear now. Victor Morales, one of our prospects, contenders, who's undefeated as well, featherweight. But yeah, with Virgil, it was always a health thing. We wanted to make sure that he was 100%. We got him to fight, like a comeback fight, and scored a first round knockout, and then he did it again. So it was a little scary for us doing the Boachuk fight. It was his moment to fight for a title. We knew that we had to do it. He said he was 100%. He was ready to go, but the layoff did affect him, I feel.
And what's next for him, you think?
we just want the biggest fights. We were approached about doing a Crawford fight. We accepted, but Crawford hasn't decided what he wants to do. But he wants to fight Crawford. We're willing to do that fight. There's
awesome.
a couple of other names out there. He just wants the biggest, best fights possible.
We have Madrimov fighting Boachuk, right?
December 21st.
That's happening this year. And obviously Crawford has the other belt. So, yeah, I mean, on the heels of this, would you entertain, on the heels of the fight that just happened, would you entertain a Murza-Lazaev fight?
Anybody, everybody. I mean, look, he wants the biggest fight possible. Fundora and Errol Spence are supposed to fight. I'm told it's not done yet, but we'll fight either guy.
Oh, that's a great
possibility.
fight, and that's a big fight too because of the history
In Dallas.
and
Ooh,
Spence. They're both from Dallas, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great fight too.
So either one of those guys is possible. Any of the top guys, we're gonna consider. Virgil's, he's a competitor. He wants to fight the best. He wants to be the best.
Eric, moving ahead, November.
Real quick before we move ahead, is he still making 54 okay, Eric?
Yes, he is.
Does he plan on staying there for a while, or is it planned in middleweight?
No, he does. He can make it comfortably. He needs time to make it, but he's a big kid. You guys have seen
that's
him
why I was
before.
asking.
mean,
I thought
he's 6 feet plus.
I know.
It's still growing. It's
crazy.
It seems like it, but no. You know what? With the proper enough time, he can make the weight.
Okay.
Moving ahead, we're about less than a month away now. You're going to be, I believe, in Saudi Arabia for Latin Night in Riyadh. Okay.
Have you been before, bro?
No, this is going to be the first time.
This will be the first time. Oh,
first
that's gonna be
time,
cool.
Yeah, and the main event is going to be a cruiserweight unification bout between Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez and Chris Billum Smith. Jose Ramirez will be taking on Arnold Barboza and some other bouts that we're talking about. I have a question. In terms of the process of working with Turki Al-Sheikh and that organization, how does it work? Do they call you and then you start thinking, hey, these are the fights we like, and they say, oh, this is what we're going to pay for? How does that whole thing, that process begin and end?
First and foremost, what helps is that he's a big boxing fan.
Yeah.
He actually follows the sport. He
And he
knows
gets
who's
excited.
who.
I see him
He
ringside.
gets
He's excited.
excited. He likes to look at the ratings. He'll ask the right questions. It's like I'm talking to one of you guys. Like, he knows exactly what's going on. So he's in touch with boxing, which is great and
That's
refreshing. It's not just someone that's throwing money for business. He's an actual fan. So that's always nice for us and refreshing. And we propose the fights. I discussed the fights with Oscar. We proposed the fight card, and he was pretty good with it. He said, "Yeah, you know what? I like these fights." And if you see, top to bottom, every fight is great. It's either a 50-50 fight or it's there. They're going to be very, very competitive. So that's what he wants, and we want to give him the best of Golden Boy, what we can offer.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things as far as dealing with him and had the opportunity to spend a little time with him too. He's such a nice guy, and you're right, he is a fan. So Zurdo,
And he's learning fast, guys. Trust me.
Yeah?
He's learning fast. He knows who's who and what's what in boxing.
Okay.
And he'll say things that are really surprising that it takes people years to learn. And he'll say them, and I'm like, this guy's doing his homework. He really is a fan.
That's great.
And a student, which is important as well.
Yeah. It's not just my way, the highway. He's very willing to be collaborative and stuff. So I'll train over at Brick House Boxing Club, which is Zurdo's boxing gym. Great gym out there. Zurdo's great guy. And man, I've seen him grow. Like he was
Literally.
'Cause what was he? Super middleweight at one point, right? Was he super middle? I couldn't believe he made that. And I'm like, damn.
He was middleweight. Yeah, he was middleweight
Was he
at one
actually
point.
middleweight?
And then he was a super middleweight belt holder. That's when he won his first world title.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I couldn't believe he made that. But like he filled into cruiserweight lights on. It's like,
big
no,
kid.
he's big dude.
He's a big kid.
He's a
When
big kid now.
You meet him, and he's a big kid. He says, I don't know, what is he, like 6'3" or whatever, but he's hunched over a little bit from boxing.
Right.
He's always keeping that guard down, but I think if he stretches out, he's probably 6'4".
Yeah.
But, something interesting happened with Zurdo. He's become a different person ever since that loss with Bivol. I mean, he's taken it a little bit more serious. The fire's in him.
Oh, good.
He wants to do great things. He wants to clear up the division, and he says, look, I'm telling you, I'm going to clear up the division, And then I want to go after Usyk.
Yeah, and
I want to fight Usyk.
Wow, I like
I
that
was
attitude.
there when he beat Arsen Goulamarian back in late March at the YouTube Theater.
Yes.
And I thought it was a very strong performance. His whiskers held up. And it is interesting about the Bivol fight, guys. I think he was very angry because remember, you guys scheduled a fight for him in Long Beach at the Pyramid and only missed weight by about 17 pounds. And then he was going through some things personally, but the show went on.
It was more like 5 pounds.
No,
but yes, it was more like 5 pounds. But,
Damn, 17, kid, bro.
no.
But
But he's grown. He's grown as a person. He's grown physically. But his mentality is very impressive. I mean, he you've seen him the way he trains hard all the time, and he always did. But now he's so motivated.
Yeah, he's got a little fire in his belly.
and he's got a little chip on his shoulder too. He wants to prove to the world that he's one of the best fighters out there. So,
and as far as the cruiserweight division too, he's very athletic for that weight class because for a big guy, he's very elusive. He's smooth in there. The way he throws his punches and the way he with his footwork.
Yes.
For a big guy, I actually think he can have a lot of success in that division.
yeah,
So I'm
you
looking
can
forward to that
see
fight.
the athleticism against Goulamarian.
Right, exactly.
And that's
it's
what he
to
did.
his benefit as he's gotten bigger.
yeah.
Also on this card, Latin night, there's a strawweight unification bout between Oscar Collazo and knockout CK Freshmart, and Oscar Duarte takes on Kenneth Sims in a solid junior welterweight battle. And I got to ask you about this. William Zepeda, one of my favorites, El Camarón, takes on Tevin Farmer, who really pushed Raymond Murataya to the limit during the summer.
Yes.
Here's the question I think a lot of people want to ask. What is the status of Zepeda Shakur Stevenson? What can you tell us?
Okay, so I'll give you guys the backstory. We were approached by His Excellency Turkey and asked us if we're willing to do Shakur Stevenson. And we said, yes, absolutely. Let's do it. And they asked us if he would be willing to fight him in December underneath the rematch between Usyk and Fury. So we accepted. Then they came back about a week later and they said, well, Shakur wants to do a tune-up now. So he's going to fight October 12th. He's going to fight Cordina in a tune-up. So we asked if we can do a tune-up and they accepted. They said, yeah, put him on Latin nights. We'll put him in. We'll make room for him there. He can have his tune-up. We'll push the fight back to February now. And we accepted.
Yeah.
We wanted to do the fight direct. Shakur's the one that requested a tune-up fight. Now he got injured, so he's out. Who knows if he's going to want a tune-up or not? I don't know. But after this fight with Tevin Farmer, we're in. We're willing to do it. That's the fight that William wants. He wants to fight Shakur.
He's must-see TV. He's one of my favorites to watch right now. I mean, you hear him fighting, you got to stop everything. You got to check him out. His last few performances have been just awesome, and he's such a player in that division. I think every other fighter, every other champion will benefit from fighting him economically if they go in there, because who's going to knock you know how you need the certain dance partner to get in those cards, and he will compliment everyone.
It's just it's a great matchup, and there's something. I mean, look, obviously you can't take away from Shakur. He's a great talent. I mean, he's our modern day Mayweather in a way. But there's something that Zepeda sees that he thinks he can exploit. There's something there that he sees. And it's one of those like Pernell Whitaker type Chavez matchups.
Sure.
It's a classic matchup like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. We're gonna do the fight. Hopefully everything comes out okay. And I feel that Tevin Farmer can prepare him for that style.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that's a great replica in a way. I remember when Mayweather, before he fought Chicanito, fought a tall Canadian by the name of Tony Pep. And you can see how those 10 rounds really prepped him. Here's the issue with Zepeda. So let's say it doesn't happen with Shakur for whatever reason in February. Zepeda's the rarity. He's number one across the board. I don't think I've ever seen that. Number one, all four sanctioning bodies, right? Is it going to be your goal as a company that if it's not going to be Shakur, to look for one of the other three belt holders at 135?
Absolutely.
Who would you like to see him if not Shakur, Eric?
There's the WBO champion Berichek. He was supposed to fight, I guess, in the UK. Something happened. His opponent fell out, or there's a problem with the opponent. But that's another guy that we would be willing to do. Any of the champions. Look, Tank, why not? I mean, Zepeda wants to do a big fight. And I commend them for that, because one loss doesn't mean it's the end of your career.
Yeah, not when you fight like that.
Especially when you fight the top guys. When you fight the top guys, it's a win-win.
Absolutely, and when you fight like that,
Yeah.
if you come out ironically, with all due respect, as great of a fighter he is, and as he is, if you fight like Shakur did the last couple of times, people are going to be clamoring to watch you.
No.
You fight like Zepeda, and even if you were to take an L, it didn't matter. I want to see him fight again.
You want to see him fight again?
You know, what's ironic was when you guys did that show in Ontario, Eric, I spoke to you for a quick minute, and I think that was 4th of July weekend, so it was a tough weekend for everybody. Was the same time in Newark where Shakur had his last fight with Top Rank.
That's right.
And I remember when he stopped Cabrera, I looked around at that crowd, and the way it buzzed, I called you right. I said, Eric, you got something here. No more tents at Commerce Casino. He's outgrown that. He's ready to do something big. And look, I think Shakur is a supremely gifted tactician, but he's not the type of guy, Mario, when me and you are hanging out, let's throw in a fight. We're never going to go out to one of his fights again. That's just the reality of it.
I remember that particular night, too, because I was watching one on my iPad, and then went at the bar there, and everyone tuned out after from the Cepeda fight after that, because it was just like moving on. And there's something to be said. Look, you can be as talented as you want, but if you're not entertaining people, then you're not as valuable as one may think.
This is the entertainment business.
It is. And I'll say this much about Shakur. Shakur's the type of fighter that if he has the right dance partner, the right opponent, it's going to be a good fight. And Cepeda cannot be in a bad fight.
Right.
He cannot. And I think it's going to bring out the best of Shakur. It's going to bring out the best in Cepeda, and it's going to be exciting.
Eric, going back to April, great victory for Golden Boy. Ryan Garcia pulls the upset. He shocks the world, knocks him down a multitude of times. Finally, after all the stuff you've been through, you've gone to the mountaintop. It's worth it. And then about 10 days later, the news breaks over the drug test. What was the range of emotions you went through personally hearing that news?
It was like a punch in the gut. We went through so much that week. It was a tough week. It was a crazy week. It really was. Yeah. And looking back, you didn't have time to really enjoy it because there were so many different moving parts that week. First, to get the news that, he was heavy and he's working on it. That was a big shocker. The other stuff that was going on the side, apparently he went out a couple of nights during the week, and so it was a very stressful week. He wins the fight. It was very exciting. You have this really, really big high, and then that comes and it just lets all the air out, of the balloon, and again, you start asking questions, and it wasn't a steroid, and more than anything, what it was just to help him lose weight. And it was something that's over the counter. But look, he's got suspended. He's paying for it now. And it is what it is.
A couple things. I got to be honest. I was shocked of the result because of the antics outside the ring. I'm sure people remember, dude was wilding out. And I thought I was like, what is happening? I didn't know if he was actually going to make it to the fight. That had to have crossed your mind. And I had friends in New York telling me, hey, I see your boy out here. He's out. It's 3 a.m. I'm like, oh my God. And I would talk to Oscar, I'm like, oh my God. And so he was out and about, clearly not concerned about that, which makes it even more impressive that he was able to do what he did in the ring that night. Which is even, you know what I mean?
Mario, I'll tell you this much. Okay, and I was there, experienced everything. That was 50% Ryan. The 50% of his ability.
And the fact that he was able to do what he did.
That was 50% of his ability.
That's my point.
If Ryan would have been 100% focused, trained, made weight, everything, I got no doubt he would have knocked him out.
Eric,
knocked him out.
That's my point. Having a 50% Ryan pretty much demolish Haney, who's pound for pound on a lot of people's lists, one of the top fighters, who just went through Regis Prograis, who's who of all this, cleaning out the division. That was wildly impressive. I'm like, what? And then the irony is he does that, and okay, yeah, the test comes out and all that bezel. I've never seen a victory, though, still sustain so many legs, because it hasn't been out of the news cycle since that fight, and we're already going to creep up in November, and a couple of months he's going to be able to fight again. Yeah. I've never seen that happen, and I feel like Haney took the L in the worst way possible with the myriad of different alibis, and now with the lawsuit and this and that. Somehow it switched, and a lot of the ire and negative energy has gone towards Haney the way he's handled it, as opposed to Ryan. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying?
It is. Yeah,
It's the craziest.
It's a movie. I mean,
it's like a movie.
You can't make this up.
And it's been all over. It's managed to still dominate social media. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, in a couple months he can fight again.
Yes.
Literally. So is that ultimately the plan? As soon as this is met, what is it? April
21st, he's free to fight.
So April 21st is the plan. End of April, we're gonna have a fight lined up.
Right away. He wants to fight right away. In fact, he's in Dallas now training.
So he is in Dallas. Okay.
He is in Dallas. He's training right now. But yeah, no, he's eager to get back. He misses it. He understands what happened. I think this is gonna help him grow as a person. I think it's something that he needed to go through. And I hope it's gonna be for the best for him. It's gonna be for the best.
Yeah.
He's taking it a little bit more serious. When you have something that's automatic like boxing, and he's as talented as he is, and it's taken away from you, it makes you hungry again.
Yeah.
And I think that I see that in him. I see that he's getting hungry again for it. He sees how precious a gift he has, and it was taken away. It's almost like, they put him on timeout, so
Right.
now he wants it more than ever.
Sure, and especially with the people sort of rallying behind him and the support. But what about the weight, though, Eric? I don't. Is he going to be a welterweight now? Can he make?
He's a big
40?
kid. I don't think he can make 40 anymore. I think he's
Yeah.
more of a welterweight. You see him; he's really filled out.
Yeah.
I think 140's behind him. But again, look, he's gonna let us know. He'll let us know once he starts getting into a real training camp. He starts dieting. He'll let us know.
Eric, in terms of the relationship with Golden Boy and Ryan, it's been tumultuous. I think everyone would admit that. But there are certain people who shall not be named here on this show who are no longer involved with Ryan.
Yes.
Do you think that has improved the relationship with the company and the fighter?
I think so. I think the everything that he went through in New York has strengthened our relationship. He knows that we're for him. We're helping him. We're going to support him the best way we can. What he did was wrong. He learned his lesson. And it's time to move on and to bigger, better things. So, it's been up and down. The relationship, even with the other people that were involved with him, it was always up and down. And now it's been great ever since everything that happened. It's been great. So let's hope for the best.
Hypothetically speaking, April comes around because, ironically, because it's been in social and it's gotten so much press, would an immediate rematch at 47 be entertained? Because that's got to be lucrative at this point, right? With all the bevel that's gone on.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. There's other stuff, too, that he wants to do. Look, he keeps telling us he wants to fight Virgil Ortiz. He says, look, I want to fight him. I think they split fights in the amateurs. I think they fought twice or 3 times. They split fights.
Well, he's called out everybody.
Yeah, so he's called out
He's
everybody.
called everybody.
But that's the fight. That's the fight that he's reached out to Oscar a number of times.
Really?
Please, get me one fight and then I'll fight Virgil. So
that would be at 54, obviously.
That would be at 54. So
Right.
we'll see. We'll see. We're going to sit down with him.
How does Virgil feel about that?
Virgil, bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Virgil's like, I'm telling you, Virgil wants to be great. He wants to fight the best names out there, the
Right.
biggest, best names out there.
And Virgil, flip side, steady, sort of. You don't have to worry too much about Virgil, right?
Virgil, you give him a date.
Yes.
You tell him what the weight is.
He's gonna be there.
And you leave him alone. And he
Right.
just gets to work. This kid is nonstop working. His discipline's incredible. He ranks up there with the Bernard Hopkins of the world with his discipline. And you guys very well know that Bernard was one of the most disciplined fighters in the history of boxing. So Virgil's like that. You don't have to worry about him, when he goes to camp.
Before we ask you a few general questions, I know several months ago at the beginning of this year, you signed a blue chip prospect that I had heard about in the gym for at least 3-4 years, Joel Irarte.
Yes.
What did you see where you said, okay, this is a must-have guy?
Another Virgil. The same thing we saw in Virgil, the same thing, he's actually a little bit bigger than Virgil. When we first signed Virgil, Virgil was a 40-pounder. He was 17, 18 years old. But no, this kid's just as good. He's just as good. He's got big pop. He's aggressive. He can box if he needs to box. He's got all this amateur experience. That's one of our kids that we're going to build for the future to be a superstar.
He's been very impressive. Where's he from originally?
He is from Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Órale, Bakersfield.
Bakersfield,
Okay.
California. Yeah.
Right on.
I could see him being a 3-4 division champion. I mean, you look at that frame.
Yeah, he's got the frame.
Yeah,
He
how
can
big is
easily
he,
be
Eric?
a middleweight. He's like 6 feet, 6'1", or something.
right.
like that.
Yeah, he looks big in
Big
there.
kid, strong, great jab, combination punching, speed, everything. I mean, this kid, we're very excited for him.
Yeah, he's looked good from when I see him.
Mo-
Wow. No, go ahead. I was just very impressed. No, it's a lot of young fighters right now. It looks very bright for Golden Boy in the future. And I got to imagine with His Excellency now entering the scene too, that's got to be refreshing because now you can sort of entertain fights that perhaps maybe you weren't able to, and also work with maybe promoters that otherwise maybe you wouldn't be able to. It'd be difficult to do a deal, but now it's opened some doors.
I mean, look.
Theoretically?
Look. In the past, as long as I've been doing boxing, 27, 28 years, you've had investors come in before and they spend money in boxing, but then they go away. They say that as an investment or whatever. Turkey Al-Sheikh is here to stay. He's here to stay, guys. I mean, just the stuff that he's talking about, the plans, everything that he wants to do. So when you get someone like him that's investing in our sport, but then also he's a student of the game, he's a fan. It's a win-win for everyone. I mean, he's the one that's making these fights happen.
Yep.
I mean, he was able to get Queensberry together with Matchroom to do these big fights.
That's great. And
Which I don't think they would have been able to do on their own.
Right. No, absolutely. And I know he wants the presence there in Saudi Arabia. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts when you get back there. But I like him because that means daytime fights, and I like daytime drinking.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Saudi Arabia, it's changing. It's changing,
Yeah.
and they're catering more to tourism. It's incredible what they have out there. I mean, just working with them, preparing for this show. They're doing big things, and it's not just in the sports sector. They're doing other stuff, with tourism,
entertainment,
business,
Entertainment.
everything. It's incredible, and it's just.
I want to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's they're planting their flag.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an old joke, though, and I don't think it applies to them. How do you end up with $10 million in boxing? Start off with 100. And I don't think this applies to them. They look at this as a lost leader. Here's a question. Me and you talk about this a lot during our private discussions. You're an LA-based company. You believe in building up local stars from our part of the world.
Yes.
You guys have a show on Thursday night, part of your Golden Boy Fight Night series at Fantasy Springs, which you guys have been doing for years. I remember I worked a lot of your shows with Beto and Doug, the Belasco series, which, again, just by doing regular shows, they created Ryan Garcia, Joshua Franco, Patrick Teixeira, and one or two, Joseph Diaz.
I saw Virgil fight there too.
Right.
I think Virgil fought
yes,
there
he
once.
did.
Yeah, I saw
So
Virgil fight
those series are valuable, but it was local in LA.
Yes.
How difficult is it to find venues in our city or this region right now?
It's tough. I mean, look, it's.
Is it availability?
In many
price?
ways, it's like New York. There's just so many things going on. You have concerts or parties or, you have plays that go on. It's tough. It's getting tougher and tougher to get these venues. It's becoming very, very tough.
I've heard that Oscar may be doing his own version of the Apex. How much truth is there to that rumor?
It's true. It's an idea that Oscar's had for a long time. We have been approached by some investors that are willing to underwrite the deal. So it's something that we've been having ongoing conversations.
In Vegas?
We'll see in Vegas, yeah.
To your point about the Bosco or
Belasco.
Pardon me, Bosco is the high school. Belasco, and then I remember you used to have them at, excuse me, right here in Hollywood where we had the.
Yeah, LA Life. At LA
No,
Live.
not LA Live.
You guys did LA Live.
Oh yeah, we did at the theater there. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Where the Ryan press conference was with Haney. Gosh damn it, I can't remember the name of it on Vine. But anyway, you had those right there. But to have your own Apex, I think that's great. To that point, to develop to the fighters, give them the constant showcase, and it's also for the brand to raise it up. That'd be great.
Well,
if
that's
that
the
happens.
lifeline for every promoter. I mean, if you have these dates, that's why like what 360 is doing. I mean, that's so important. People don't realize that. Tom built up Boacek on those shows.
Yes, he did.
He did that, and he's got a number of other fighters. He's doing great job, Tom Loeffler. But yeah, that's the lifeline for us, Golden Boy, and that's how we develop these kids. And they gradually graduate to become from prospects to contenders and from contenders to world champions. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, in fact, I remember Ryan Garcia. People don't realize, some don't, he did not start his career with Golden Boy. He actually did club shows where they bought their own fights in Tijuana. And then he got the attention through social media. He got Oscar's attention. Then he was signed with Golden Boy. And he fought at Belasco more than once. I do know that because we called a few of those fights. So everyone starts from somewhere.
Absolutely. You have to.
You all start from somewhere, and then now, if you make a hit and you do what you're supposed to do, then, you graduate to the next level. But yeah, I mean, I can name hundreds of fighters we've done that with. And that's what it's all about. Abner Mares, built him at in Tucson at the Desert Diamond Casino. He fought there a number of times, and that's where he made his debut. And you build them up in these smaller shows, get their name out there, and then they graduate.
Yeah, and also I think series like Solo Boxeo on Telefutura, I still miss it. It was a great way to start the weekend. At 11:30 at night, pop in whatever beverage you want, and Top Rank, Golden Boy, you guys would all kind of get dates and split them.
Right. ESPN did
Friday Night Fights.
So
USA Network used to do those back in the day.
Those are so important. It's so important to develop these kids.
Eric, I know that your mentor was the late, great Don Shargan, World Week. Like, he taught you how to be in the boxing business.
That dude.
Yes,
Sacramento.
he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
What's the greatest lesson he ever taught you?
There's so many of them. It's funny because, he passed away, I don't know, I want to say, 4 years?
4 or 5 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago.
He lived a good long life, though.
I think about him every day.
Yeah.
I'm in a situation, in a phone call or something, and his lessons just come back to me. And he taught me so much, and I miss him dearly. But there's so many, with matchmaking. He would always tell me, the keys to be a great matchmaker, the first thing you need, first and foremost, is luck. You need luck. Because you can have a masterpiece on paper, and it can end up being a dud.
Yeah.
And he told me, look at Oscar Trinidad, fight of the millennium. Yeah. People thought, all these knockouts, and it ended up being a boxing match.
Yeah.
And then he said,
Pacquiao Mayweather done.
And then the second thing that's important is you have to know styles. Styles and stuff. He says, but you have to have luck too. You never know what you're going to get with these fighters.
Right.
You don't know if they're sick sometimes. You don't know if they didn't have a good training camp, whatever. And then the other one that I laugh about, and I think I mentioned to you in the past, is he told me, he says, Eric, you're going to have 2 parts to your career. Okay? He says the first part of your career is getting your name out there and getting to know who's who are the movers and shakers, and getting to know them and establishing yourself. That's the first part of your career. The second part of your career is getting even with all of them.
I like it. He gave you good advice. He gave you good advice.
Yes, he did, and he's right.
Eric, how long did it take you to finally say, okay, I think I know the business a little bit, like I'm comfortable here?
In many ways, I was thrown in the deep end of the pool. I was thrown in because we didn't hire Don Shargan until the second year of Golden Boy, and I credit Oscar, Richard Schaefer at the time as well, because they just basically threw me in. And Roy Engelbrecht, who we were working with, who's a local promoter, you guys know him very well. Yeah. He gave me a list, and he said, here's a list of the gyms in Southern California. Here's the main trainers. Call them and look for fighters. Now, you got to understand, back then, we didn't have any fighters signed to Golden Boy. We didn't. I believe the first fighter.
Who was the first one you signed?
The first fighter we signed was Marco Lincon, I believe.
Right.
Who was a contender at the time, and he had beat Israel Vasquez.
He's a featherweight.
He was a featherweight contender at the time. I want to say that's probably the first one we signed, and then after that we started signing, little by little, all our prospects and all that.
Jose Navarro
was with DiBella. We had signed them before we were promoters.
Management deal. Yeah.
We were his manager, so DiBella was the promoter for Jose Navarro. But we signed Abner Mares, Ponce de Leon, all those guys. Edwin Valero, we signed him. We started signing all them guys. But Steve, to this day, I don't think I've
really.
To this day, I mean, look, obviously, again, luck does play up into it. But to this day, there's stuff that comes out. It doesn't surprise me, you know. So it's impossible to know everything. You keep learning, you keep growing.
Yeah, the business is always changing, you know. And
It's always changing. It's always evolving. Yes.
Hearing you say that too, it's wild to think, man, because that's a daunting task. Because really, you guys, Oscar is the only fighter to really make that successful transition.
Yes.
Unless I'm wrong.
A
right?
real one.
That's
Where
what
it's
I'm
not,
saying.
it's not just a logo on a banner, an actual company. Yeah.
I said a successful transition.
Yeah.
That he's the only one, right, from all these previous fighters.
Yeah, and
that's pretty wild when you think about it.
And that's because Oscar has the passion for the sport. He really does, and that's important. You know, he believes in it.
Well, he's got guys like
He's
you too, though. He
passionate,
needs
and-
people that he trusts. He's got to have
Thank you.
guys like
Thank
you,
you, yeah.
running it, because you know a lot of these guys are going to have passions, but you know they need a good team. You're only as good as the people that you have, that you surround yourself with, and the infrastructure that you have. Because yeah, that's a daunting thing. As I think about it in the beginning, but you guys have been managed now. How many years now, man? How many years has the company been around?
It's been 22 years.
Dang, dude, that flew by. I remember when it started.
22
Damn.
years when we first started. Yeah, it's incredible. 22 years, and you know, prior to that, 3-4 years we were managers. So we opened up a management company before Golden Boy Promotions. But again, it's like you're still learning. You know, like
Yeah.
after the first or second year, you know, you get to know the styles, and you know, it's not rocket science. You know that if you put two aggressive fighters in the ring, you're gonna have fireworks. You know that. But then, you know, there's other fighters that are not as aggressive, so you can't have two boxers fight each other. It's going to be boring.
But there's
you
so
know,
much
so
you-
you learn the
Yeah.
styles. That's the most important thing in the beginning, learning the styles. But as far as the business of boxing and making matches, you're still learning.
Yeah.
But also, I gotta imagine what's difficult is you're dealing with all these different personalities, right? The managers, the hangers-on, the fighters themselves with all their issues. And then you got guys. I gotta imagine it's incredibly frustrating. You mentioned Valero, who, man, I would have loved to have seen it. Obviously, that was a tragic ending. Or like a Frankie Gomez, or all the guy you see all these different guys that are like, oh, what could have been, what should have been.
How about the fathers?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The dad.
they're
You're
the
dealing with the
fathers.
dad. It's a fucking desmadre after what, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta imagine that's a headache when you're dealing
You know
with
what's
those guys.
changed? You know what's changed recently? What's changed recently is back when we started Golden Boy Promotions, a lot of the managers still had a lot of control over the fighters. So you would go and make a deal with the manager, and then once you got the deal done, we would go to the attorneys to paper everything up. What's changed now is that a lot of these fighters now have attorneys representing them, and you have to negotiate with attorneys, and they make things very difficult.
Yeah.
They scrutinize every little thing. And, you know, that's part of their job. That's what they're doing. I get it. But it was just so much easier with the managers because I'll tell you, nowadays, attorneys can really screw up fights.
They do.
They'll screw up fights, and they'll kill them. They'll kill fights before they're even there.
And they're taking a piece too. I don't know why the fighters would want to give even more of a
Exactly.
Well, I think
piece.
a lot of them try to show their value by being difficult because they could tell the fighter, see what I'm doing, I'm fighting for you. And I'm thinking,
Exactly. And it's always like, beat up the promoter. There's no need to beat us up.
Right. We're on
You
the
know,
same page here.
We're on the same team. We're on the same page. You know, the more money you make, the more money we make. So
Right.
we're gonna go out there and try to get you top dollar. There's no need to shit on us and
Right.
kick our ass.
There's
you know,
no catch. That's what I understand. There's no
and
catch.
That's what a lot of that's what a lot of people don't realize. We're the last ones to make money.
Right. You got to put out the money.
Every single event, the fighters make the most money. They get paid first, and then it's a trickle down. You know, after that, you got to pay the commission. You got to pay the supervisors, the officials. You pay the managers. You pay the trainer. Everybody gets paid before we do. We're left with the leftovers.
And the irony too is that at least in this era, it seems like even much different from the 90s and when Oscar fought, they want to fight less.
Yeah.
So they're fighting less. They're making less money.
Yeah.
The whole thing is it doesn't make sense.
And that's what hurts them. That's why it's so refreshing when you get guys like Cepeda, you get some of these guys like Virgil. They want to be more active, you know. And again, you know, activity is key for these guys.
it matters.
It matters. It
Absolutely.
really does matter.
Here's an Ask Mario question that I wanted to address to you, Eric, because I think you guys have been in this situation. This is from a guy whose Twitter handle is Steve Kim Sideburns. He's back.
don't have sideburns.
After Saturday night's result and some people suggesting Tim Tszyu should not have taken the fight to begin with, where does one find the balance between taking real fights and being a warrior versus making business decisions that suck for fans but make the fighter more money for future paydays? That's something you must go through a lot, right?
A lot. And it's a delicate balance. Look, you know, Tim Tszú's a very exciting fighter. I'm sure he's going to bounce back. He'll still have big fights in his career if he chooses to continue. But again, you're going to get surprised sometimes. You don't know. That's why, again, luck comes into it.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get. You don't.
And let me defend Tim Tszú's management. No, I don't know of a lot of people that said Murtaza was even a live dog. So, I mean, look, hindsight's
picked him.
nobody that I know.
I think it was a 7-1 under.
Right, so hindsight's 20/20. But
Right.
tell me that story. I love the story of how Shane Mosley basically went against everyone's advice and said, "I want Margarito." That's a great story.
That's happened a few times in my career, and Shane Mosley was one of them. And I remember the meeting. I remember it like it was yesterday. We sat down. Richard Schaefer and I sat down with Shane and his wife, and we presented 3 opponents to him. We presented Andre Berto at the time, which was a champion, WBC champion. Then you had Kermit Cintron, which was the IBF champion, and then you had Margarito, who's a WBO champion. And Richard explained it to him. He says, "Look, you'll make the most money with Berto because he's not that expensive yet."
He would have made the most money with Berto.
He would have made the most money with
because
Andre
Berto
Berto.
came the cheapest, so that money.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Exactly.
Though. Wow.
And Shane was a bigger name at the time. He was, former champion. Then you have Kermit Cintron, big kid, a little dangerous, IBF title. We can go after that one. But you'll make the least amount of money, and it's the biggest risk, is Margarito. And he said, "I want Margarito.
Why?
I want Margarito."
He just saw something.
And we looked at him and we said, "Shane, that's a dangerous fight. That's one of the guys, you saw what he did to Cotto. I mean, Cotto hit him with everything except for the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And he still stood in front of him and kept coming and coming and coming. So, and I remember this, again, like it was yesterday. Shane got up and says, "I'm going to go to the body. I know how to fight Mexicans. I grew up fighting with Mexicans."
He did. He grew up all Mexican. Exactly.
And he says, and he emulated Margarito's style, and he did the 1-2 and then the uppercut and then 1-2 double uppercut, and that's the way Margarito fought. He threw a lot of uppercuts, and he says, "I'm gonna go to the body like no one's ever gone. I'm gonna stay close. He's not gonna be able to hit me. You'll see. I'm gonna beat him and I'm gonna knock him out." He said that, and he did it. And he did it, and he did it. And the other guys, I was telling Steve the other day, the other guys that did that, same thing with Bernard Hopkins when he wanted to fight Pavlik. We were afraid of that fight.
Yeah.
And Bernard said, "What are you talking about? This guy has Frankenstein feet. He's got to plant his foot before he throws. I'm telling you, by the time he plants his foot, I'm not going to be there. I already landed my punches and I'm out of there." He proved me wrong. Canelo was a tough son of a bitch. I mean, he was a tough motherfucker. I mean, Canelo was willing to fight anybody. When he fought against Lara, I was so against that fight, style-wise.
Right.
And he didn't care. He didn't want to hear any other name. He says, "I want Lara. I want Lara." Same with Austin Trout. He went for Austin Trout. And then the guy that really, really surprised all of us, was Eric Morales when he wanted to fight Maidana. I mean, we got attacked by the media so bad.
I was one of them.
The media attacked us and said, "You guys are sending this guy to his grave. Top Rank released him. He should be retired. He's got headaches." Then Arum did an interview and said, "Yes, he shouldn't be fighting. These guys are, it's a suicide mission."
Love Morales.
And Eric Morales laughed at me. He laughed at everybody and said, "Guys, Maidana doesn't know how to fight. He fights like a drunk sailor. And I'm going to expose him and I'm going to beat him." And you know what?
Nearly
he
did.
almost did.
I know.
He almost did.
He's a much smaller man, too.
He fought with one eye.
Yeah.
Because if you remember that fight,
I love that
Maidana
fight.
caught him with he caught him with the punch right in the eye. It swelled up.
Yeah.
He fought him the rest of the fight and almost stopped Maidana.
Yeah.
Hurt him
Yeah.
a couple of times.
Yeah.
And all of us just were left, with amazed.
I'll come clean. I was one of the ones really talking a lot of chip. And then right after the fight, Eric tweets me, "Steve, what's up?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, I can't get reception here."
Yeah.
Not a lot of bark, but
I've
it's
always loved Morales, man. He's a tough guy, but just so fundamentally sound and so
crafty in his own way.
crafty and so skilled.
People don't realize how great of a fighter he was.
Oh no, I know. I always realized
He
that.
was a
I was
great
my favorite
fighter. And I'm gonna say it right now on the record. Juan Manuel Marquez did not want to fight Eric Morales.
I was wondering why they never fought them. He probably saw the same thing. He saw the same thing. Huh?
We offered him the most money he's ever made, Marquez.
Really?
And he said, "No, that's the most dangerous fight. I do not want to fight Eric Morales."
Wow.
And Eric Morales took less money. He said, I don't care what it takes, Eric. Pay me whatever you want to pay me. I want Marquez.
Wow.
I want Marquez. I want Marquez. And I remember Marquez to this day. No, Nacho doesn't like it. I don't like that fight. And I was like, what are you talking about? Eric Morales was like retired. He was out of boxing for like a year and a half. He's just coming back. Come on, Marquez. You're in your prime right now. You just stopped Casamayor. You're going to beat him. No, that's the most dangerous fight. Don't think that just because he was out, Eric Morales is the most dangerous fight.
Oh, I love that story.
He did not want to fight him.
That's the missing chapter of the rivalry between Pacquiao, Morales, Barrera, and Marquez.
I know.
Out of all the guys that mixed, the one thing that was missing. Here's a final question. Now, I'll go with Derek Batista. Hey, Steve and Mario and Eric. Bakram Murtazayev looked incredible demolishing Tim Tszyu in 3 rounds. Based off this performance, how would Bud Crawford fare against this powerful and fundamentally sound champion? Eric, put on your matchmaker's hat. I mean, did Terrence Crawford show you any slippage, or was that just a very difficult style in August?
No, look, he moved up to 154 for the first time. People don't realize, Crawford's so good, and he knocks people out, but, he started his career at lightweight.
Yeah.
He's a smaller guy.
Yeah.
And as you're starting to move up, you're not going to get the knockouts. You're not going to look as impressive. Look at Canelo, for instance.
Yeah.
Canelo, when we signed him, when he was 18 years old, he was a welterweight. And he gradually started going up to 54, fought at Hatton, and, went up to 60, now 68. So you're not going to get the knockouts from Crawford. Crawford's the best fighter on the planet. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Skill-wise, everything-wise,
he's able to make
he's one of the best
adjustments.
fighters
And he
out
fought
there.
a real guy.
He fought a real guy, a tough guy, a strong, solid. I don't think Madrimov's ever fought below 154.
Right. He's a natural
He's a
54.
natural
And he's
54.
put together.
He's put together. He's very, very strong. I've seen his workouts. He works out like a maniac. Look, any of those guys, Crawford's going to beat all of them. He's going to beat all of them.
I agree.
He'll beat all them guys. He really is that good.
Let me ask you a question. I know it's hard, hypothetical. Crawford, what would you say his prime is? His prime. I mean, we're kind of, he's
40 to 47. I thought he came into his own physically.
right. Let's say 40 to 47, Crawford's prime in Mayweather. You know what? Am I crazy to think I'm kind of like Crawford? Am I crazy?
You know who agrees with you?
Who agrees with me?
Tim Bradley.
Tim Bradley agrees with me.
Tim Bradley broke it down to me one time because when he first said it,
honestly, I do.
Tim had a lot of heat. He got a lot of heat. He goes, Steve, I want to tell you like this. List Mayweather's career, fight by fight. He goes, Tim would be undefeated too. And I was like, wow, he probably would be.
You mean Crawford would be?
Yes. He said if you had the exact same matchmaking, Crawford wouldn't have any losses either. That's his
the
opinion.
way he adapts to every style and is able to make his adjustments, and with his ambidextrous style, and he's got that maldito, like that mean kind, and he could, he can crack at those lower weight. I'm like, am I crazy to think? Am I crazy?
It would be a hell of a fight.
It'd be a hell of a fight, right?
You maybe, look, maybe you'll give the edge to Crawford because he's got a little bit more pop, but again, you can't take away from Mayweather.
Oh, no, not taking anything. But
Mayweather is a great fighter, and and Mayweather had a mean streak. Go back to that.
When he was lighter,
Chico Corrales.
When he was lighter,
I mean, go back to the Shane fight. Look, I know Shane was a little past his prime, but Shane caught him with a great right hand.
Twice.
Hurt him.
Twice he hurt him. I remember
and
that.
then you saw Mayweather go to work.
Yeah.
He went to work, and it was like the 7th or 8th round, and I remember I was fearing for Shane's life. I was like, stop the fight. Stop the fight. Mayweather's he's gonna knock him. He's gonna hurt him. Mm-hmm. And he went toe to toe with Shane and took it to him. Go back to that fight.
Yeah, I remember that.
After he got hurt, he stood his ground and he did that. And
he
then
walked him down.
And then he did this. He walked him down, which was impressive.
Yeah,
incredible.
Same thing as Zab
Impressive.
Judah. Had problems with the speed in the second half. He just said, you know what? I'm going to put my hands up. I'm going to walk you down.
And he walked him down.
Yeah.
When he wanted to do that, he did it. Look at the first Maidana fight. Maidana was a murderous puncher. And
that was a very close fight.
He took some big punches from Maidana.
Buzzed him too.
And he stuck in there and
he
he fought. So again, it's hard when you start comparing different eras and this and that. It's
right.
just
And
different.
Mario,
But I think it's a competitive fight for sure.
It's a very
It is
competitive
very
fight.
strategic, and I'll say this: me and Doug say it all the time. When we were there as young beat reporters with Max Boxing, what Mayweather displayed against Chico Corrales is one of the 4 or 5 best performances I have ever seen.
Ever.
I remember Doug looking at me saying, "Steve, we never got to see Ray Leonard live. It may be like that,"
No,
I did not disagree.
It was incredible.
That was the peak.
Yeah,
It was
was a
incredible.
quick things before we get out of here. You guys are both Dodger fans. I'm not going to ask who's going to win this race. What, 6 games? 6, 7?
Bro, I'll be honest, and I'm a big Dodger, as you know. I'm surprised we got this far, bro, just because of the pitching.
Yeah.
Our pitching.
Everybody's injured.
Everybody's injured.
Yeah.
And the fact that.
Everyone's injured,
Hey,
yeah.
Dave Roberts, I know they give him a hard time. He managed his ass off the way he did with the bullpen and
Yes,
the way
he
they
did.
stepped it up. And all the hitters, obviously. I don't know if it's the Shohei effect, but everybody, even like Edman and you got Baez and these guys that come in and step it up. It's just, but then again, I look at the Yankees, they're a little bit kind of like a mirror image. They don't have great pitching either. They got a great lineup too, so it's going to be interesting. What do you think?
You know what? It's like a heavyweight fight. You know, it's I'm just excited. Whichever way it goes, obviously, you know, I want the Dodgers to win it. That's my first love, the Dodgers.
Yeah.
But I'm just excited. You know, the amount of attention that baseball is going to get.
Yeah.
You know, the
That
two
is
biggest
exciting,
markets, New York, LA.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it would have been nice if it was the Subway Series, but it wouldn't be as big as the
no,
Dodgers.
this is
way.
huge. This
This
is
is
the
huge.
biggest-
This
MLB
is big,
couldn't have asked
and
for
it's
a
just
better
going to
thing.
grow. It's going to grow the sport, but I would say if I had to guess, Dodgers in 6.
Hey, I like that. That's what I was going to guess right now. So that's a good omen.
And Mario, Thursday, are you hosting some sort of comedy convention or festival or concert?
Yeah. Remember how Russell Simmons used to put on Def Comedy
Yeah.
Jam, and he would pretty much kind of the producer of the event, focusing on these young comics and giving them the platform. Well, I'm trying to do that with some young Latino comics.
Órale.
So I partnered with the Laugh Factory. I invited you fools, but you're out of town.
I'm gonna
On
be in
both of
Miami.
those. And so we're calling it Way Out Loud, but Way like
Way.
on the way. And we got a great lineup. It's at the Laugh Factory. This Thursday, we're hoping to do more of these shows, and I'm excited to get out there.
All right, well, that's it. And Eric, you have an open invite. Thank you for the time. Really appreciate
Thank you
it.
That was
guys.
fun,
Always
man.
great. Always great to be here with you guys, and thank you guys for what you do.
All right.
Thank
That's
you.
it for the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino on behalf of Mario Lopez, Smoking Tim Frazier, and Tino on the edits. Till the next round, goodbye, everybody.